Hello and welcome to the Disability Law Show. As always, John Scholes, your host, and with me the most excellent, charming, and incredibly good-looking Sivan Tumarkin representing today. James is not here, so it's you and I, pal, doing the entire thing.
That's right.
Lots of stuff to cover today, but off the top, we'll give you the contact information. That is 1-855-821-5900. Emails, which we will get to in a few minutes. That is help@disabilityrights.ca. We always do a lot of really interesting stuff. The purpose of this show is to inform people, Sivan. It's information people need out there when they're going against insurance companies and dealing with disability. Today, the top 3 advantages of having a disability lawyer representing you. This you want to stick around for. That's in a little while. But first, week that was, something that's been happening on your side, pal. What's going on?
John, as usual, very, very busy. Helping people all the time. I answer emails for free all the time for people who are on long-term disability and they have questions on how to deal with a denial, how to deal with an insurance company, when the insurance company unjustly cuts them off. But let me tell you about a little story. And I have to be careful here because we resolved the case recently, so there are confidentiality provisions in there. This dealt with a lady who has been disabled for quite some time as a result of a car accident. And so we were dealing really with several insurance companies. The insurance company for the person who caused the accident, the insurance company that was providing her with benefits, accident benefits, and the long-term disability insurance company who said that she's not disabled enough from working and therefore they're not going to pay her LTD. Now, one thing I should mention is that she was approved for CPP disability. So the government deemed her to be disabled from working. And so, after some time with this legal claim, because we're dealing with multiple insurance companies who initially didn't want to pay anything, not a cent, we finally resolved the claim. And I can tell you it's in the high 6 figures.
Wow, no kidding.
But, the one thing that struck me when we resolved this claim and signed all the paperwork is that one of the adjusters for the insurance company, who was not involved in the initial denials, at the end, at the conclusion of the mediation, came around to our room to say goodbye and hugged my client. How often do you hear me give praise to an insurance adjuster?
Right.
So what I want to tell people out there is that, not all adjusters are bad. Not every insurance company is going to be unfair to you. That said, if you are unjustly denied your disability claim, if you're cut off long-term disability, if you're in an accident and somebody else is at fault and you need compensation for your injuries, we can help. This is what we do. So this was a very feel-good story. My client was obviously happy. Her husband is happy. Everybody's happy. It's a nice ending. I mean, she's never going to be the way that she was before the accident. But she got the compensation she deserved. We pressed all of these insurance companies to come to the table to pay what she's owed. And, it's a feel-good story. And I want to tell people out there, again, if you think that you are powerless against the insurance company, don't believe it. Don't believe it. Don't simply take their word for it. Don't assume that their denial is just. Don't assume that they can do whatever they want to you. Insurance companies want you to believe that they are all-powerful. They are not. They are terrified of lawyers like myself, not because it's just me, because we cost them money. Remember, they're in the business of making money. They're not in the business of fighting legal claims. And James, when he's here, my partner, will often say that when they deny your long-term disability claim, they'll want you to go through this process of appeal.
Right.
Remember, if you are engaged in that process of appeal, you're not really costing them any money. It costs them nothing to send you another denial letter, to frustrate you. But when we get involved and we initiate the legal process, and now they have to get a defense lawyer on board, that's when it starts costing them money because they're starting to get legal invoices from their defense lawyers. So again, you are much more powerful than you think. This is what we do each and every day, and this is why we're here to educate the public, John.
You must have had a good feeling off the top with this case because you mentioned that she did make the cut for CPP disability, which is arguably a tougher test, right?
It is a tougher test, exactly. I mean, to get CPP disability, you have to have a disability that's severe and prolonged. Right. And again, a lot of disability insurers out there will say to you, apply for CPP disability, and then you apply for a CPP disability, you may get denied, and then the insurance company will say, well, you didn't qualify, so we're going to cut you off. Again, they can't do that. They can't do that. But in this case, you're right. She actually qualified for CPP disability, and despite that, they cut her off. So, did I feel good about it? I felt good only in as much as I knew that I was protecting my client's right. I was pushing extremely hard, not just me, my whole team. It's not just me. Remember, at the firm, we have a team approach. When you hire us, to go after the insurance company, it's a whole bunch of us. We're working together in concert to push back and to take the fight to the insurance company to make them pay.
Do they also encourage you to apply for CPP because they get a credit for the amount if you end up qualifying?
They do. So this is in the context of long-term disability, absolutely. Most long-term disability policies out there contain provisions, a provision that says that if you apply for CPP disability and you get CPP disability, and you can get $800, $1,000, I think the max is about $1,300 or so a month. But if you get that, the insurance company gets a credit for it.
Makes sense.
But, people contact me and they ask, do I need to apply for this? Is this necessary for me? And I tell them, you should apply for this. Because first of all, if you get approved, not only will the insurance company have a tougher time cutting you off because now the government approved you for disability, but guess what? If they cut you off and we have to get involved to fight them, you have another income source from CPP disability that continues on.
Again, 1-855-821-5900. An email is help@disabilityrights.ca. That's where we're going to go now. First email for the day, my friend, is this one. It says, I'm 45 and have been on LTD for over a year for chronic fatigue and numbness in my legs. I worked for 10 years as a real estate agent and have a private long-term disability policy. The insurance company says that my disability is not serious enough for me to be off work, but my doctors say that I can't go back. The insurance company says my payments will stop by spring, so that's coming up. This is extremely stressful. What do I do?
Well, it's obviously very stressful because, this person is relying on these payments to come in. Yep. Now, they've given him a heads up. They've told him it's next spring. So he has...
Which is normal, right?
Well, they can give you a heads up of a few weeks, a few months. Right. I've seen it as much as 11 or even 12 months that they've given you a heads up they're going to cut you off. Here's the thing. If your doctor says that you are disabled from working, and the insurance company says that it's just there's insufficient documentation, insufficient proof, they don't believe that you are disabled from working, they think you can go back to work, they're telling you they're going to cut you off. First of all, they're going to cut you off, okay? Those train tracks will end, all right? So you don't want to go over that cliff. And many people will be tempted to try and appeal that decision. And they'll do a first appeal, they'll get denied. They'll do a second appeal, they'll get denied. And what happens is, as time progresses, you're getting closer to that cutoff date, and then you get cut off. Now there's no way to pay the mortgage. There's no way to pay for the kids' education. Here's the thing. If your doctors confirmed, and I say doctors, it could be treatment practitioners, it could be a psychologist, it could be any number of practitioners helping you. If they say you cannot work because of your illness or injury or a combination of both, your insurance company should not be allowed to cut you off. And if they tell you they're going to cut you off, this is when you call us immediately. You don't wait until next spring. So this person did the right thing. He's contacting us. It's a private policy, by the way, which means that he's paid those premiums all along. Yeah. And now he's not getting the benefit for it. So again, we can help with that. We've helped tons and tons of people in those situations, and we resolve these claims. It's actually not difficult to resolve these claims once we get involved.
All right, we'll take a short pause. As mentioned off the top, when we come back, we're going to give this the top 3 advantages of having a disability lawyer representing you. That's on the way. 1-855-821-5900 and disabilityrights.ca. Disability Law Show continues. Stick around.
They only gave you 2 weeks of severance per year worked. But where can you find out what you're really owed?
I'm going to severancepaycalculator.com.
Find out how much you're owed right now. severancepaycalculator.com.
You've been denied long-term disability. You think you're powerless, but you have a lot more power than you think. I'll tell you a secret. It's a numbers game for the insurance company. They're betting on you walking away from money that they owe you. Don't make that mistake. We resolve disability claims all the time. We force insurers to pay what they owe. We're in your corner.
Call Sivan and his team, 1-855-821-5900, or go to disabilityrights.ca. You lost your job. They said they had a good reason, but you think you've been wrongfully dismissed. Now what are you going to do?
I'm going to employmentlawyer.ca.
Always check with the employment lawyer first at employmentlawyer.ca.
And welcome back to the Disability Law Show. John Scholes, Sivan, Tumarkin, 1-855-821-5900. Any time to reach out. More emails coming up. Lots of information. Stick around. Want to get to this, though, as mentioned off the top, Sivan, I know you're eager to answer these. The top 3 advantages of having a disability lawyer represent you. Going to get right into this. Number 1, and this one's the one that everyone goes, oh, Thank God. And that is we, meaning you, take over all communications with the insurer, right?
Yeah, this is key. This is absolutely key. You know, most people that contact us are suffering from some kind of a mental health illness or a disability or something that's preventing them from working, obviously. It can be depression, it can be anxiety, PTSD, phobias, a whole bunch of stuff. But even if it's just an injury, and I'm saying just an injury, I mean a physical injury or an illness, it's so stressful sometimes to deal with these adjusters. I say sometimes, but you know, the reality is that every person I speak with who's struggling with their long-term disability insurer is having difficulty with their adjuster. And by the way, it's not because necessarily the adjuster is bullying them or being difficult. It's because these individuals are dealing with significant stressors. That's the reason they're on disability,
right,
because they can't work. The last thing they need is this pressure from this insurance company that's asking them for more documentation, for a return to work program, or to try to go back to work, or to go to an assessment, or to do this or to do that. It is mentally taxing. Now, there are other instances on the other side of the spectrum where the insurance company is bullying you. You know, they'll do surveillance on you, and they'll start investigating you, and
More
they'll do a whole
stress.
bunch of stuff.
More stress.
So, more stress. We take over this communication once we get involved in the case. That means you can no longer get a phone call from the adjuster, a letter, or an email. Everything has to come through us. We are that wall now that protects you, so that means that you can focus on getting better. We are focusing on making sure that they're going to pay you what you're owed. But you can focus on following your doctor's recommendations and doing what you need to do. You no longer have to deal with them, and there's no more, you don't have to expect any more phone calls. They're stopped.
Is that just a mechanism of the policy, or is it a legal thing they cannot contact you anymore?
It's a legal thing.
Yeah.
And they know it, by the way. They know it. Now, let me tell you something. I remember a few months back getting contacted by a gentleman who watched this show. And that person said, you know, I've heard you say this time and time again, that once you get involved, you're the ones talking with the insurance company. And he says, I have a lawyer for my disability claim. And the lawyer said it's okay for the adjuster to continue coming to me directly. And the reason he was calling me is because every time that he gets this phone call, his blood pressure just jumps through the roof.
Of course.
Insurance companies, adjusters are not allowed to speak with you if a lawyer is involved. If the lawyer consents to them speaking with you, well, then it's a different story. But they shouldn't. What is the point of hiring that lawyer?
Yep.
So no, that's a huge, huge benefit. And I think most people, as you started the segment with, they breathe a sigh of relief when they find out that we are the ones who take over all communications with the insurance company.
Second advantage of having a disability lawyer represent you is this. Number two is we know what legal pressure points we can apply. It's like legal jiu-jitsu to force insurers to pay what you are owed, right?
It's exactly like legal jiu-jitsu. It's karate, you know, judo, whatever you want. Look, at the end of the day, this is a battle that we wage with insurance companies day in and day out. And remember, I used to work for insurance companies in the past, so I was on the receiving end of this. And I can tell you, there are a lot of lawyers out there who don't know what they're doing. And just imagine, you have somebody on the other side, professionals, these adjusters, this is what they're trained for. And their job is to save the insurance company money. So they'll find whatever they can or pick on whatever they can in your file to either deny your claim or to stop your benefits or to just make your life miserable. Now, when we take over, when you are denied your claim or cut off or anything happens, when we take over and we then get their file and comb through it and start itemizing all the mistakes that they've made and start going through all of the minutiae because we know what we're looking for, we turn the tables on them. Now the jiu-jitsu is on them. Now they're the ones who are crying, okay, let's settle, let's settle. So again, people need to understand that this is what we do, and it's almost like an antidote to, you know, the pressure that they're putting on you.
Yeah.
This is what we do. This is our business. Our business is to apply pressure back on them.
It's really kind of cool as well because you guys have the time, as you said, to dig into each file and dissect it. You might have an adjuster who's dealing with 100 files. He hasn't got the time to do that.
They don't.
You got the advantage, right?
They, you know, oftentimes they're not trained properly. Oftentimes they don't look through the file the way they should. They're overworked, and you know they have quotas. We live in a different age now. Everything is volume, right?
Yeah.
So from the standpoint of the insurance company, they can have 100 adjusters handling each one of them 50 files, or they can have 50 adjusters handling double that, right? So they want to save costs. So they save costs by cutting you off or denying your claim illegitimately, and they save costs by hiring people who are not necessarily the best trained and loading them up so they won't know all the intricacies of your case and that's where they make mistakes. But you have to know how to seize on those mistakes to force them to pay you.
DisabilityRights.ca, and again, 1-855-821-5900, talking about the top 3 reasons to have legal representation, a disability lawyer in your corner representing you, and this is the final one. You can force the insurer to disclose everything they have in relation to your file. Why is that so important?
John, how many times did I have a person call me and say, you know, I've asked for a copy of my policy. They're not giving it to me. They said that they had my file reviewed by a consultant, or they sent me to an assessment with a doctor, and I can't get a copy of that report, upon which, you know, they decide to cut me off. And I want to see a copy of my file. They're not giving it to me. Look, one of the things that they do is they keep their cards close to their chest. When they deny your claim, or when they cut you off, and they ask you to appeal, or they invite you to appeal that decision, when you appeal that, in other words, you don't go through a legal process, which is what we do, they can keep those cards close to their chest. There's nothing forcing them to give you everything they have. What we do that's different, which generally people don't do because they don't know how, and frankly, they're not suited for, you don't have the expertise, is we start a legal process. That legal process engages certain legal rules, and within those legal rules, now the insurance company has an obligation under those rules to disclose everything they have. They actually can't hide it. If they hid it, they would be chastised, disciplined, ordered, you know, by a judge to provide those documents. So what happens is that we get involved. We immediately ask for a copy of the entire file. We want all the communications between the adjusters, between the various consultants, whoever it is. We get everything. At that point, that's it. We can look at everything and figure out where all the mistakes, seize on those, force the insurance company to the table to pay you. It's a fairly simple formula from that standpoint, but again, you need to be able to know how to engage that legal process, and that's what we do. And again, we do this every single day.
You bet. Coming up here, we're going to get to dealing with an insurer who disagrees with your doctor and or cardiologist. That is on the way. In the meantime, 1-855-821-5900 and disabilityrights.ca. It's a disability law show. Stick around. Lots more is coming up.
You were being harassed, and when you said something about it, you're the one who lost your job. Now what are you going to do?
I'm going to employmentlawyer.ca.
Always check with the employment lawyer first at employmentlawyer.ca.
Insurance companies deny long-term disability claims all the time. They give lots of excuses. Don't give up. I've seen it all. They've ignored your doctors, they've ignored you. You're angry and you're frustrated. But there's hope. We resolve disability claims all the time. We force insurers to pay what they owe. We're in your corner.
Call Sivan and his team, 1-855-821-5900, or go to disabilityrights.ca. You thought you had a secure job. You didn't see it coming. Now what do you do?
I'm going to employmentlawyer.ca.
Always check with the employment lawyer first at employmentlawyer.ca.
Beauty. And welcome back to the Disability Law Show. Lots of stuff coming up here. If you haven't used this resource before, it's fantastic. It's called mydisabilityquestions.com. You go there. You can either ask a question, leave it for Sivan and his team, or there's a drop-down menu of questions that have been asked for, I guess, the last couple of years. There is a wide variety of questions that have been answered in depth. Yours might be there. Just search it and give it a try. Get some answers. But I want to get to one live now. I want you to answer this for me, Sivan, against mydisabilityquestions.com. Travis writes in. Travis says, guys, my husband was approved for short-term disability for a heart condition that makes it impossible for him to exert any effort. His cardiologist wrote that he can't do his occupation. He's an airline mechanic. Last week, we got a letter from his LTD insurer saying that they don't think he is disabled from working. This is our second appeal, the old A word. We already submitted letters from the cardiologist and family doctor. We are not sure how to proceed.
Well, I mean, Travis's frustration, again, very, very common.
Yep.
What they're experiencing, again, is very common. This going through a first and second appeals, very, very common. Getting denied, very, very common.
Go hand in hand.
You know, and I say common, I say it with frustration because I can sense their frustration here. I mean, for the insurance company to say that we're ignoring what the family doctor is saying, what the cardiologist is saying. I mean, who is this adjuster that believes that he or she knows better than the family doctor here and the cardiologist who are treating this individual? It's absolute insanity, but I see it day in and day out, and I see it in different contexts. I see it with adjusters saying to a cancer patient, I don't think you're disabled enough. I see it with adjusters saying it to people who have MS and other types of diseases or injuries. So, Travis, here's what we do. It's really quite simple. Once we get involved, we're going to ask to see those medical documents. We want to see what was given to the insurance company. We want to see the denial letter because I want to understand exactly what did the insurance company say. Did they say there's insufficient proof? Did they have an issue? Did they have follow-up questions for the doctors? Sometimes it's a simple miscommunication that we can help resolve. But if this is one of those blatant cases where the insurance company simply says, we don't believe the doctors, or in a roundabout way they say, we just don't think that their opinions are strong enough, insanity. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start a legal claim against the insurance company. And let me tell you what happens in some of these instances. This happened to me actually 2 weeks ago. We start a legal claim, a situation not that different than what Travis is describing with his husband. And I can tell you what happened there was that immediately when we filed the claim and served it on the insurance company, well, not immediately, within a few days, I get a call from the defense lawyer that's appointed by the insurance company that says, Sivan, I read the claim, I read the file. How about we talk how to resolve the claim?
Chat.
Yeah, we need to chat. Why? Why did it necessitate our involvement? Why did I need why did these poor people need to get so frustrated, live without a paycheck for God knows how long? In the case of this individual, it was over a year. It's unfair. And so what I told this defense lawyer, I said, yeah, we'll talk resolution. But now I want more from your client, from the insurance company, for my clients. I want some kind of compensation for all the grief you put them through. Not you, but the insurance company. So, very important to understand, Travis, we can help in this situation. The doctor said that, your husband's condition is severe. He cannot work. There is zero reason for the insurance company to have denied the claim. Unfortunately, you wasted some time with going through these appeals. I understand why people do these appeals. The last thing they want to do is go to a lawyer. I get that. I understand. And so if you want to go through that process, go ahead. But, for the most part, my experience has been that these appeals are useless. That's my anecdotal experience and also listening to people. And I'm telling you, this kind of a case, I would resolve that in a matter of a few months at most. Not every case is different, but I can tell you on average, within a few months of getting involved, we can resolve these cases.
And this isn't a windfall. This is not a lottery.
No.
This is money owed you. That's what people have trouble getting their head around, right?
You are 100% correct. People actually, they believe that somehow we are doing something illegitimate. We are getting money that this individual is not owed.
Right.
No, it's wrong. And here's the proof. If the insurance company truly believed that this person does not deserve a cent, they would not be coming to the table to pay.
Good call.
And they do. Remember, I started this whole show by talking about this case where we resolved the case for a high six-figure amount. It's not unusual. Not every case I'm going to get you, high six figures. Some cases are much less. Some cases, frankly, are more. Every case is dependent on the facts, the age of the person, the disability, the LTD amount, all that kind of stuff. But here's the thing. Insurance companies don't write checks out of charity. They write checks because they know that the alternative is worse for them if this goes before a judge.
Email address is help@disabilityrights.ca, and the phone number anytime, 1-855-821-5900. Email up next from Don. Don says, I've been on long-term disability for almost 2 years now for severe rheumatoid arthritis. My case manager at the insurance company says that I should be able to return to work and my insurance will be cut off. Heard that before. My doctors say that I cannot because of the seriousness of my condition. I'm 52 years old and I'm afraid that I won't have any income when the insurance company cuts me off. Should I appeal this decision?
So again, common question. Obviously the answer is, Don, do not appeal this. Now, the fact that you're coming up to the 2-year mark, let's talk about this for a second because a lot of people still don't understand this, and I understand why they don't understand this. It's not easy to understand. For long-term disability claims to qualify, and I'm talking generally now, the vast majority of long-term disability policies contain a provision or a test for you to qualify for LTD. For the first 2 years of being on LTD, the test you have to meet or the criteria that you have to satisfy through your doctor's reports and opinions is that you cannot do your own occupation. It's called the own occupation test. If you can't do substantial aspects of your own occupation, you should qualify for LTD for the first 2 years. At the 2-year mark, the test changes. It expands. Now the question is not can you do your own occupation, but can you do any occupation for which you are suited for by training, education, or experience. So if you're a doctor, as an example, no one's going to ask you after 2 years to go and work at a coffee shop. Nothing wrong with working in a coffee shop, but that's not what the test is.
It's not commensurate income, right?
Correct, exactly. The question is, can you do something else for which you're suited for by training, education, or experience? And a lot of people get told that at the 2-year mark, their benefits are going to end. In this case, Don is saying that the insurance company, the adjuster, the case manager, is saying that he should be able to go back to work. No, the adjuster cannot make that determination. The doctors treating Don are the ones to give an opinion, or perhaps a vocational specialist, somebody that deals with vocational training, vocational rehabilitation. That kind of a person has the ability and expertise to provide an opinion on this, not the case manager. In some instances, the insurance company will have you seen by one of their assessors. And it could be for a transferable skills analysis.
You have to go?
So you have to go if there is an assessment like that. Yes, you do.
Okay.
But the fact that they identify X number of jobs that they say they think you can do doesn't automatically mean you have to go and do those. You have to make a determination, and your doctors have to help you with that as to whether or not you are in fact able to go do those jobs. And if your doctors say, we don't think you're capable of doing it, and if you feel that you're not capable of doing it, no, there is no way that the insurance company can cut you off. And if they tell you they're going to cut you off, that's anticipatory breach, and we can help you. We can force them to pay you beyond the 2-year mark.
Got a couple minutes to go. I want to squeeze in Isaiah's email here again. It's help@disabilityrights.ca. Isaiah says, my brother's LTD claim was rejected. The insurance company adjuster said that he isn't totally disabled. He's 32 and a licensed electrician. He had an accident at the cottage. He almost drowned and suffered brain damage. He lives with me and my wife because he can't live on his own anymore. We are appealing his denial with the help of his neuropsychiatrist, who thinks that the insurer is wrong and that he's unable to work. Is there anything else we can do about that denial?
Absolutely. We're starting a legal claim here. Not even a question. I know they're going through the appeal process, but there's no need for that. The neuropsychiatrist is saying he cannot work. And this is a tragic situation here. I mean, Isaiah, I feel for you. I've known people who've been in significant accidents. I mean, what you and your family, your brother is going through is absolutely crazy. And, you know, again, John, we see this time and time again where you have objective injuries. You have a neuropsychiatrist, which is an MD, it's a doctor. That doctor is a specialist, and this is a high-level specialty, saying this person cannot work. He's got brain damage, for God's sakes. And the insurance company says, no, we think that he can work. Again, absolute insanity. Now, I want to talk very briefly about this idea of being totally disabled.
Yep.
People think that total disability means that they are in a coma state, or they have to be in a coma state, or completely brain damaged, because they look at the word total.
Yeah.
That is a term of art. That's something that the insurance industry created.
Well placed.
Well placed,
Yeah.
and it misleads you. Total does not mean that you are brain dead. It doesn't mean you're bedridden. No, it just means, can you do your own occupation or substantial aspects of it? If he's an electrician, Isaiah's brother, and he can't do it because of this injury, which seems to be pretty clear, well, then he qualifies, or he should qualify for LTD. Supposedly here, I mean, with this kind of an injury, he's probably going to qualify beyond that 2-year mark as well. So, you know, when they say you are not totally disabled, it does not mean, I want to make that clear, it does not mean that you are completely and utterly comatose and disabled and paralyzed. No, it doesn't. It's, can you do your own occupation for the first 2 years, and beyond that, can you do any occupation for which you're suited for? In this case, I can't fathom how we're not going to resolve Isaiah's brother's case within a matter of months, if not weeks.
You bet. Lots of stuff on the show today, guys. We're going to wrap it up. If you want to reach out further, you can do so, mydisabilityquestions.com, which we read from and referred to a few times. Email address, just as easy. It's help@disabilityrights.ca. The website is disabilityrights.ca. And always the phone number works. Make sure to give it a shot and call if you need James or Sivan, a member of the team. Just dial it 1-855-821-5900. Till next time, the Disability Law Show. We will see you next time.